is there a knife above Christ's head? Not a halo, not a blessing, a knife. In the middle of the most crowded wedding scene in the Louvre, Paolo Veronese hides one unsettling action exactly where your eye is supposed to travel. A servant cutting meat directly above the calm face of Jesus. At first, it looks like ordinary banquet work, but look at this again. Veronese could have placed this servant anywhere. Instead, he puts the blade on the central line of the painting. So the question is simple. Why place a cutting table above Christ at a wedding? At first glance, the wedding at Cana is pure celebration. Marble columns, bright sky, silk clothes, music, servants, guests packed into every corner. It feels more like a spectacular Venetian feast than a biblical village. And that is the first trick. Veronese turns a miracle into a party so dazzling that you almost forget what the miracle is. In the gospel story, the wine runs out. Christ tells the servants to fill the jars with water. Then the water becomes wine, his first sign. But in Veronese's painting, most people do not seem to notice. The guests eat, the musicians play, the servants move. The miracle is happening inside the noise. But the most important clue is not where you expect it. Return to the knife. The servant is not simply serving food, he is carving lamb. And this is strange because the banquet appears to be near its end. So why is lamb still being cut at the center? One interpretation is practical. A Renaissance banquet needed servants, movement, and performance. A skilled carver was part of the theater of dining. But this is only the beginning. The lamb changes everything. In Christian symbolism, lamb points beyond a wedding meal. It points towards sacrifice. And here, that meaning is placed above the one figure who sits perfectly still. Christ does not rise. He does not command the room. He sits at the center with a quiet frontal gaze, almost untouched by the chaos around him. Now the detail becomes more disturbing. Above him, a blade. Below him, wine. Around him, people who do not understand what is happening. This is where the painting changes. The miracle at Cana is not only about saving a party from embarrassment. For Christian viewers, the wine can suggest a deeper future, the Eucharist, where wine becomes connected with Christ's sacrifice. Some art historians have read the central line, the carver, Christ, and even the hourglass near the musicians, as an allusion to time, sacrifice, and the passion to come. So Veronese gives us two banquets at once. On the surface, a wedding. Underneath, a prophecy. To understand why, imagine the original room. This painting was made not for a museum, but for the refectory of the Benedictine monastery of San Giorgio Maggiore in Venice. Monks ate beneath it. Veronese's painted architecture extended their real dining room into a biblical feast. So while they ate in silence, they looked at a painted feast full of sound. That contrast is powerful. The monks saw luxury, music, motion, and appetite, but at the exact center, they also saw stillness. Christ became the point of meditation inside the storm. And above him, the carver's knife reminded them that every meal could become a spiritual image. But there is another version. Maybe the knife is not only religious. Maybe it also reflects Venice itself. Banquets, wealth, ritual, display. The painting does not reject luxury. It stages it brilliantly. In that reading, the carver is a figure of control. He cuts, divides, portions, organizes the feast. Just as Veronese turns a chaotic crowd into a balanced composition. Look at this again. The blade is small, but the placement is enormous. It sits on the invisible vertical axis that holds the whole painting together. Without that axis, the scene could dissolve into spectacle. With it, the feast becomes a question. Is this a celebration of life or a warning about what is coming? Even the crowd helps hide the answer. The more people Veronese paints, the harder it becomes to see the central truth. This detail is hidden not in darkness, but in excess. The answer may be hidden in plain sight. A wedding should be about union, joy, and transformation. And yes, Cana is about transformation, water into wine. But Veronese adds another transformation. A noisy feast becomes a meditation on sacrifice. The knife does not destroy the beauty of the painting. It makes the beauty unstable. At the beginning, this looked like a magnificent party. Now, it feels like a scene with two clocks running at once, the present joy of the wedding and the future shadow of Christ's passion. So return one last time to the carver. He is not the main character. He barely seems important. And yet, his knife points us toward the deepest tension in the painting: miracle and mortality, abundance and restraint, celebration and sacrifice. Maybe the knife is just part of a feast. Maybe it is a symbol. Or maybe its power comes from being both at the same time. Do you think Veronese wanted us to notice the knife immediately, or only after the celebration had already distracted us? If this hidden detail changed the way you see the painting, leave a like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, was it just a feast or a warning?